The family was born into a society. The society exerts pressures or accepts certain norms. The society converts values into right and wrong. And there is no right and wrong.
We learn about life through questions.
Then is everybody intuitive?
Isn't that restricting the growth?
How do you find that balance?
Is it a verb like work to do?
How do we progress and work on that?
To answer some of these, Mr. Praveen Mankar, founder of Pratibimb Charitable Trust, brings to you Face to Face. This week we are talking about family values.
How often we hear these words? तुमने हमारे खानदान की लाज रख ली, तुमने हमारे खानदान की नाक काट डाली. We hear moral, ethical principles traditionally upheld and passed on generations to generations are family values. So, sir, my first question to you today: what are family values and what do they really mean?
Two complicated words. One is family and two is values. So what is family? Today, in today's context, family has got a much wider meaning than what we traditionally understand as a family. Family of like-minded people, family of particular thought process, and then the biological family. So when you say family values, then what are the values? The values that are upheld traditionally by a group of people belonging to a particular society is generally considered as family values. Now when you talk of family values, we are not talking of good values, bad values. We are not talking of right values, wrong values. We are talking of certain things which have carried forward from generations to generations and touted as family values. So if you talk in the Indian context, you have the Brahminical values, or you have the warrior values, or you have caste values. And then when you are trying to pass on these values to the next generation, there is always a dilution. Dilution because of the changing environment, because of the cultural mixes which are facilitated much more easily today than in the past because of ease of transport, sophisticated communication systems. So people get a wide mix of values from different lands. And give you just one example, traditional foods. So you have family foods, particular flavors, like you have a Gujarati thali or you have a Rajasthani thali. They have typical items which adorn their thali. Today, with so many programs that are telecast on foods or cuisines across the globe, all these things have got mixed. So values have changed. Now, again, I reiterate, we are not talking good values, bad values, right values, wrong values. We are only talking of values as upheld or rejected.
So you would say thought process, food, ways of living or ways of behaving, all of this would come under family
All these are values.
Okay.
All these are values which are supported or rejected, like dowry system. There was a value in India to that. Who can afford to pay what levels of dowry? That established their status in the society. And it continued for a fairly long time. Today, even today, there are certain communities who still believe in the dowry system, though it is not done as openly as it would have been done in the past. Today, when you say dowry, it is called as a stigma. It is looked down upon. But that's also a value of a particular society that believes in it, that there is, like in Africa, there is a bride price. It's exactly opposite of the dowry system. Like, I'm giving you my daughter, so you pay me money. So these are traditions which came into existence for whatever reasons. It could have been economic reasons, it could have been contractual reasons. And once they come into existence and they are perpetrated over a period of time, like decades and centuries, then they become recognized as a particular cultural trait.
Of the family,
of the community.
of the community.
Of the community. And then when somebody goes against the cultural trait of a community, then you are called a rebel, that you don't respect the values of the community you belong to, or the land you belong to, or the family you belong to. And it is labeled as wrong.
So we would think that every family has its own set of values. So actually, who really creates them?
The family was born into a society. The society exerts pressures or accepts certain norms of acceptable behavior to that society. For example, you may have a society which believes in vegetarianism. We don't eat non-vegetarian food, so that becomes a value. So now if a girl marries a boy whose family comes from a non-vegetarian eating family background, blasphemy. How can you marry into a family which tolerates non-vegetarian food? So that's not accepted by the community. Their values are strictly vegetarian. So again, the society converts values into right and wrong. And there is no right and wrong. Yeah, for example.
But here I would like to ask you, if traditionally a family has been following a certain pattern of eating habits, a certain behavior and certain ways of living, and then somebody new comes into the family and that person defies all of this. So would you say that person is breaking the family values?
The family would say that.
Yeah, so but if you look at it really traditionally going forward, is that person doing the right thing? Or, I mean, I know again it's not right or wrong, that is what is, but
You look at it this way, people believed that the earth is flat. There was a time when people believed that the earth is flat. Nothing wrong in that, because their level of knowledge was as much.
limited
They
to
didn't
that.
know that the earth is actually a globe and it's round. And then some scientist comes forward and says, no, the earth is round. And the whole community says, you're wrong. And this is blasphemous. And this cannot be tolerated. And you're trying to teach people the wrong things. So again, the right and the wrong is concept. It's a concept of a collective group, and majority wins. And therefore, when a majority group says this is wrong, then it is accepted by the society as wrong. Whereas there is nothing right and wrong. Either you know it or you don't know it. I know that the earth is round, or I don't know that the earth is round. That's the truth. So when we say values, we assign hierarchy, levels. These are good values, these are bad values. These are top class values, these are low society values. This is us. That you are an untouchable, you can't enter a temple. Who assigned this value? The human beings, the society assigned these values. What is untouchable?
Yeah,
I can't touch a stone which you have shaped in a particular idol, and you say, oh, this is very holy, I can't touch. And it is from that same stone, which is a representative of the earth, that this body was formed. And you are calling this body untouchable, and that this body cannot touch that stone. Who created that value? The society created.
Then we also hear this concept that joint families are better at giving family values. What would you say to that?
True. Again, I am not into the debate of right and wrong values. I am in the debate of values.
Family values.
Values.
Yeah, values. Okay.
So, suppose you have a child in your house, you and your husband go to work, and you also have your parents in the house, and old uncles and aunts who are brothers and sisters of your parents, or sisters-in-law of your parents, and they are all living together as a joint family. Now, you as a husband and wife have gone out of the house, and you have 2 children in the house, left in the care of the elderly who are retired people, but they are available in the house. So, at least whatever your family is accustomed to in terms of habits are conveyed to the children.
That's true.
Suppose these people are not there, as in today's case, the nuclear family, then where are the children? The children are either in a creche, or they are left alone in the house, left to various exposures, social media, society around, their kids, their backgrounds, with no parental guidance or adult guidance. So, whatever they pick up is true for them, because there is nobody to tell them that no, this is not right. For him, he watches his favorite cricketer playing a cricket match, and the stump vision and the stump camera picks up his hero, his icon, using abusive language. Who is going to tell him that this
That's
language
not
is not the right language? Because there is nobody around. So the joint family system had a lot of benefits, again determined by economics. Now I have to take care of my parents, my uncles, my grandparents, and where will the money come from? So the economics decided that the joint family is no longer suitable for me. When you got rid of those people, you got rid of a lot of values. Now today you ask your children to speak 1 to 100 in your mother tongue and they struggle. You ask a Maharashtrian boy what is Panchavan,
He may not be even.
and he doesn't know that it is 55. He is not exposed to that. But if he had elderly people with whom he lived, probably they would be conversing in the local language, whether it's Marathi, Telugu,
Whatever,
Tamil.
yeah.
So he would be entrenched in the culture.
So you would say that family values are very important in the upbringing of children also.
In the larger context, no.
Now how is that? That's a googly.
In the larger context, no, because we are all human beings. So if you look at the larger context, what values are you talking of? Indian values? India is a concept created by human beings. The universe created Earth. There were no maps on the Earth created by whatever powers. You may choose to call it God.
No boundaries.
Yeah, there were no boundaries. You created the boundaries. You said India, you said Asia, you said Australia. So these are creations of the human being. So in the larger picture, no.
Okay.
Then you are dividing the human race. When you talk of family values or traditional cultures, you are dividing the human race. But in the existing scheme of things and in the existing laws of the land, so to say, I cannot freely transfer from one country to other without proper documentation. I cannot travel freely as a human. Oh, I am a human being. I am entitled to come into Saudi Arabia. Where is your visa? Where is your passport? So these are all human creations. So when you talk of values, everything is human. And when you say human, then it's definitely not divine. And the only true values are the divine values. The only true values are the universal laws. Ultimately, you are talking of one divinity. Everybody agrees there is one God. So if you are following those values of the universe, then you are talking universality. Otherwise, you are talking of divisions, divisibility. The human race was not created for division.
Okay. But in today's days, when we hear so often that most people want their space, everybody says, give me space. So even within a family, you see that each one wants to be in his or her own space, maybe a bedroom or a room or whatever. And then they don't want to be disturbed. That mingling that was there probably at one point of time. Now is changing to everybody wanting their own space and all. So does it mean that the family values are somewhere on the downfall, or it's this?
Okay, take a simple example of the human body. The human body is the same. For the last millions of years, the caveman was constructed similarly as today's modern man. Imagine that there is a committee of body cells in a meeting, and the cells of the lung say, I want my space. The cells of the liver says, I want my space and my time. I will not operate according to your time. The stomach cells say, you must eat food only at this time. I will not release gastric juice if you eat food at any other time. Can the human body function?
Not at all.
Not at all. The universe was not designed for division. The universe, the cosmos, is one entity operating in its own space and time with their own specialization. The lungs never descend down into the stomach. The lungs remain in the chest. They have their own specialized functions. They don't interfere with the functioning of the stomach. They don't encroach upon others. They function in sync with the other organs of the body. There are orders and there are systems which need to be followed. Human beings don't follow that.
So even within the family, even though it's just a unit, these things are important. I mean,
space and time is important, but not as separate entities, as a part of the whole. Every individual in the family needs his space and time. Fine. But not detached from the family.
Correct. So you could have a stipulated...
The day you say, I want to detach from the family, you have started creating problems. It's unity.
Families are the compass that guide us. They are the inspiration to help us reach great heights and help us in our conflicts, wherever we tend to falter. And like it is said, a house is built by hands, but a home is built by a family and hearts.
If you have some questions about life, please connect with us. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon for weekly updates.